Hello friends. Okay, today I'm going to do a tutorial for you using no heat. So we're just going to be using bobby pins, comb, and products, okay? So what we're going to do is kind of a low bun. We're going to do some twisting into it. It's going to be very pretty. So you need to make sure you have prepped hair before you start. So that means we've got hairspray in it, we've brushed through, we've taken care of the roots, we've put some grip in it if we need to. So that's step one. And then our next step is going to be to do some quick sectioning. So I'm going to be gathering the front and kind of twisting it back into the bun. And I'm going to be doing the bun last because I have nothing that I'm going to pin into it once I've already pulled it back and secured it. So we'll do the headband part first. So that's top of the head to just right kind of to the top, a little bit behind the ears on both sides. And then what you want to do is take a triangle-ish section over the top, because anytime you are going to be doing a soft twisting back braid, anything like that, you want to make sure that you have the top already styled, put the volume in, any product that you need before you start working the front, because you don't want to have a hard delineation. So you don't want to have a hard braid here and then be pulling hair that you shouldn't have, or have to come back in and back comb after you do the braid, because you can often see some like bubbles there. It might not look very clean and fluid. It might not look very soft and pulled back. So I like to get the front and the top styled with like the volume before I go ahead and do any securing, braiding, twisting. So I'm just gonna skim off this and do a little bit of back combing through here. So just a little bit of back combing, and then going into that little triangle section I just took and back combing the rest of it, just so I can get a little bit of height on this before I keep going. So we're gonna back comb slightly and then let that down. Now what I like to do here is just make sure that it's laying in the way that I want it to lay before I even pull back my front pieces. And what you can do is just do this loose ponytail, or you can use an alligator clip or a claw clip to just loosely pull this in the fashion that you're gonna have it, so you can make sure you're kind of getting the look of it even before you secure this in. So that means I'm gonna kind of lift this up to give myself some of that volume that I want. And then, like I said, you can use a claw clip, or you can just use an elastic just to hold it together really loosely while you're pulling everything back. Okay, so make sure we've got the amount of lift in here before we start anything else. So you're gonna check from all sides, make sure it's exactly how you want it. Check from the front so you can see how much volume is coming off when the bride looks straight on you. You wanna make sure she likes it, okay? And then you can hairspray this. So I've got my back just loosely secured, and then a section on each side. So I'm gonna twist these, and I'm gonna start by making sure I've got it prepped. So that means spraying with a texture spray. If the hair is really fine, then you want to use some texture powder. And then I'm gonna start in the top, and I'm taking kind of a triangle section from her part to her temple. And I'm gonna hold it very loosely in my hands. And again, make sure this hair is prepped. And I'm gonna twist a 2-strand twist. So I'm just crossing it over, crossing it again, and then I'll gather a little more hair from the outside only, not all the way inside. Twist it, and then grab a little more hair. Then twist, grab more hair, and I think I'm actually just gonna grab the rest of it here. And then twisting it all the way to the ponytail. So what I want you to notice is that I walked with this as I moved, and so it looks very fluid, okay? There's no hard lines here. And then I'm just gonna pull these out just a little bit, so I have a little more looseness here. And then you can just loosely pin this in for now. So I'm not gonna secure this tightly, I just wanna get this in the right position and make sure I like it, and then we'll give it a spritz of hairspray. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now, some people maybe are fine on each side and have equal talent. I will tell you that the other side that I just did is my natural side. This side doesn't feel as natural for me, so I have to be much more careful, and sometimes I have to start over when I do a 2-strand twist on this side. You will see why. So we're gonna divide it in half, and I'm crossing over, and this is where I feel kind of awkward. So I have to grab it in this hand, and then grab the hair, and then grab it here and hold it here again. So it just doesn't feel quite as natural to me as the other side does, for whatever reason, but we make do. So you can see I'm just crossing it over, loosely twisting it, and then I can do the same technique where I can just kind of loosen it just a little bit. And I also want to loosen right here at the top, so we have a little bit of volume right in the bang area too. And this will work beautifully if you have product. If you do not have product, it may or may not work depending on the hair type. Okay, so you can see that's really lovely. And then I'm just gonna put a pin in it again, loosely over the top, just to hold it in place. Okay, so now I've got this side done and this side done, and we've come together in the back. All I'm gonna do now is actually pull this into a ponytail. So you can do it the old-fashioned way by just gathering all the hair, putting it into a ponytail, or you can use one of the bungees that wrap around and hook. Like I said, you can also do the old-fashioned way, or you can take 2 bobby pins, one on each side of your hair binder, and secure it that way. I had an extra bobby pins laying here, but it was broken. So I'm just gonna take this one out that I just did, and I'm just gonna pull this into one ponytail. Now I would recommend doing this around twice, and maybe even putting in an additional elastic so it is very secure. You don't want this to snap internally. So sometimes on brides, I even do like 3 because I don't want that to break. Okay, so we have a nice smooth ponytail. You wanna make sure this is still smooth and great and that nothing on the sides got messed up when you secured this. And then all we're gonna do, friends, is a 2-strand twist in this part as well. Now I'm really gonna need that other binder, but I'll show you a little trick if you run out. So I'm just gonna divide the 2 sections, and you wanna spray these each with texture spray. You can sprinkle with texture powder if you find that the hair is not cooperating with you. And I dropped my comb on the ground, so I'm just gonna brush through with this that I can reach. And that messed up the tension here, so I'm just gonna adjust that, okay? And then we're just gonna 2-strand twist this. So I'm crossing it over each other and kind of twisting each section as I 2-strand twist. And you want to have another elastic for the bottom here. Like I said, I dropped mine, so, okay, I'm getting my comb, pardon me. I'm back. I would not use this as if it was a real client, okay? I'm going to back comb the end of this. So this will help lock it in if you do not have the proper elastics. Okay, so that isn't super pretty, but it doesn't matter because it's gonna be tucked. Whoa, friends. Okay, so now what you wanna do is wrap this puppy around. So I will wrap this around, and I'm pulling it kind of tightly towards myself because the thicker part is up here. So you just wanna hold it in the shape. Okay, oh my gosh, her head's gonna fall right off. Whew. You're holding it with your hands. You guys, this is comical. Hold on. Try this again. Twist it around, tuck this end into the inside, hold it in place, and then we're gonna start pinning. And I will just pin kind of loosely at first. And what I do is I just go internally into the edge once I get a few of these in, I'll show you more slow motion so you can see. But I want to get this locked in before my whole stand falls down. Okay, so we have kind of a messy version right here. But what I'm going to do is kind of pull this out. You can be a little rough with it. I'm pulling out the section to widen it. So I'm pulling with my fingers just like that. And then I'm going to go in with my bobby pin toward the head and then push it away from me and then back towards me. And you can do that as many times as you need to get this locked in and not see that tip of the bobby pin, because you do not want to see it. And then what you want to do once you get one section filled is go through and do the next section. So this one here, I'm going to pull it out a little bit because it's not as thick as this side and I need it to get bigger. So I'm pulling it with my fingertips, and then I'm going to do the same technique. So I'm going inward towards her head. You can see it moving. So I'm pushing the bobby pin straight in and then turning and pushing it toward the scalp. And you can see how that kind of spread that section out there, and you don't see the top of the bobby pin. And you want to do this all around at each section. So I'm going in. This time I'm pushing it away from me. So in, turn, and into the bun. And you want to do that at the nape of the neck too. So you can have her look down and get in there and secure that in, okay? And you want to make sure you've done that on all sides. And when you're done, you're going to stand back and pull at this bun. Because it's secure, because you use texture spray, and because you two-strand twisted it, you have some leverage to pull it a little bit, okay? So you can make it even. But you see how cute and like what a fun texture that gives to the bun. And then you just want to look for any holes. So like, I don't like this. And so I need to fill that, and I'm going to do that by tucking this inward like that. So I'm going to grab, I'm opening it this time. I'm not just pushing it in because I want to grab more hair. So I'm grabbing some hair and then pushing it up into the bun to close that gap. So you see how that closed that gap right up? And then the last thing you can do is if you feel like these aren't tight enough, you can do that same push pinning technique on the side here by going internally. So you're pushing, pulling the hair, turning it, and then pushing it forward. And then all you have to do is pull the hair around it to cover the tip of that, but you've secured this hair in on the side. So this is a really fun and beautiful updo with no heat, okay? Now, let me tell you, you might need to use a little heat if the hair is super frizzy, okay? So this isn't gonna look pretty on hair that hasn't been kind of like blown out or has a good closed cuticle to start. But in general, this does not need much heat. And you could achieve this with a blowout first rather than holding a hot curling iron on the hair for a long time. So that is your tutorial for today, friends. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Otherwise, if you are looking to up-level your updo skills, join me for my boot camp coming up in July. I will put a link in the comments for you to join. And if you have any questions, you can find it all through that link. So come check it out. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.